I felt a chill run through my veins as I stared at the message on my phone from John declaring he wanted a divorce. After 2 decades of marriage, this was his method of communication? My hands trembled with a mix of shock and anger as I confronted him in the living room. "What on earth is this, John?" He looked up, his expression disturbingly neutral. "It's clear, Ellie. I want a divorce. Why now? Why after all these years?" I could barely keep my voice steady, the hurt evident in each word. John just sighed, treating our conversation as an annoying interruption to his day. "I've fallen in love with Eliana, my colleague. It's serious, and I'm planning a future with her." The world seemed to tilt as he spoke. Eliana, the vibrant, blonde colleague who was always by John's side at work events. "How long?" I managed to ask. 5 months. "And she's moving in soon. You need to leave," he added coldly. The audacity floored me. This was my home too. John stood, his height imposing. "I'm doing this, Ellie. Better accept it." Tears blurred my vision. The man I loved, the father of our children, had reduced our life to rubble for a fling. And our daughters, Carol and Jenny? Don't they matter? They're grown. "They'll understand," he asserted, his tone harsh. I laughed, a bitter sound filled with pain. Understand that their dad betrayed their family? For a fling? He was unyielding, slamming his fist down. "I've decided. Leave by week's end." Heartbroken, I promised him regret as I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. Sobbing uncontrollably, I drove without direction, my thoughts spinning with betrayal and fear. What would I tell our daughters? How could I endure the humiliation? As dusk fell, I found myself at my friend Zoe's doorstep. She enveloped me in a hug as I recounted the crushing news. "That bastard," she seethed. "He won't get away with this. We're in this together." Her support was a lifeline in the storm. Determined, I knew I had to stand my ground. John had underestimated me. This was just the beginning. Returning home, I braced for another tough conversation with Carol and Jenny, who seemed engrossed in their phones. "We need to talk," I said, my voice shaky. Carol looked up, her tone resigned. "Is this about Dad's girlfriend, Eliana?" Stunned, I realized they knew. "You're okay with this?" Their casual acceptance and harsh words cut deep. They blamed my absence, my dedication to my career, for the rift. Every sacrifice I made for them now thrown back in my face. As they dismissed my feelings, calling me selfish, tears welled up in my eyes. Despite everything, I resolved to fight not just for my dignity, but for our family's well-being. If John thought he could discard me so easily, he was sorely mistaken. The battle lines were drawn. "Jenny, if you truly loved us, you'd want us to be happy," Jenny stated icily. Her words stung. "We're content living with Dad and Eliana. We don't need you here." The pain was palpable, as if my heart was being torn from my body. I couldn't believe my own daughters, aligning themselves with their father, the man who betrayed us and his partner. "Did John put you up to this?" I demanded, a moment of clarity hitting me. They must have been influenced by their father. Carol rose from her seat, her expression contorted with indignation. "Nobody put us up to anything. We're old enough to make our own decisions, and we choose to stay with Dad and Eliana. You're no longer welcome here." Recoiling as if struck, I felt my eyes well up with tears. "You can't mean that," I whispered. "We do mean it. Leave, Mom. And don't come back," Jenny declared firmly, standing beside her sister. Devastated, I left the house, collapsing on the front lawn as tears blurred my vision. How had my life unraveled so quickly? My husband, my daughters, everything I cherished, gone in an instant. Amidst the overwhelming grief and sense of betrayal, a fiery spark of anger ignited within me. John had orchestrated this. He had manipulated our children to his advantage, and Eliana, that cunning woman, had played her part too, worming her way into their lives while dismantling ours. Regaining some composure, I wiped my tears away. I was determined not to let them destroy me. Pulling out my phone, I dialed the best divorce lawyer in town. "Hello, this is Ellie," I said, my voice resolute. "I need your help." My husband has betrayed me and turned my daughters against me. I intend to take him for everything he's worth. As I ended the call, a renewed sense of purpose washed over me. I was resolved to emerge from this stronger than ever. John and Eliana would regret ever crossing me. In my attorney's office, my fists clenched as he reviewed the evidence, bank statements, credit card receipts, all pointing to John's deceit. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, his eyes meeting mine, "it appears your husband has been quite active. He's been draining our joint account for months," I replied, anger seeping through my voice. I had no clue until I started investigating. "And the money?" my attorney inquired, leaning back thoughtfully. "It went to his escapades with Ileana. Lavish meals, luxurious gifts, trips. They've been enjoying themselves on my dime while I've been struggling to keep us afloat," I explained, bitterness lacing my laugh. Liam's expression hardened. "And your shared assets? The house, your investments?" I swallowed, the memory of an overheard conversation between John and Eliana surfacing. "He plans to use it all for a new venture with her, leaving me with nothing." "Not if I can help it," Liam declared firmly. "We'll ensure you receive what you're rightfully owed, Mrs. Thompson. Every last penny." Grateful for his support, I felt reassured. "Thank you, Liam. I'm at a loss without you." He offered a wry smile. "Thank me when we've taken your husband to the cleaners. Now let's strategize." For the next hour, we delved into the evidence I had collected, constructing a solid case against John. Liam was optimistic about proving not only the infidelity, but also the financial misconduct. As I left his office, invigorated with resolve, I felt ready to face whatever came my way. I wouldn't allow John to break me. I was ready to fight back. My phone vibrated with a text from Zoe asking about the lawyer's visit. I quickly responded, better than I could have hoped. I vowed to show John just how big a mistake he had made the moment he decided to betray me. As I shared my plan with my best friend, her response was swift and supportive. "That's the spirit, Val. I'm so proud of how strong you are," she exclaimed, her words bolstering my resolve. My friend had been an unwavering pillar of support through the ordeal, her steadfast presence vital to my endurance. As I settled into the driver's seat of my car, a quick glance in the rearview mirror revealed the toll the past events had taken on me. Red, swollen eyes, and a complexion that spoke of sleepless nights. Yet, a newfound determination flickered in my eyes, a spark reignited with the thought of fighting back, not just for me but for my daughters, Carol and Jenny. They had been swayed by their father's deception, but I was determined to reveal his true character. Eliana, that crafty interloper, thought she could waltz into my life and dismantle everything I cherished, my husband, my family, my entire world. But she was sorely mistaken. I was poised to expose her for the opportunistic homewrecker she was. As I drove away from the parking lot, a calming sense of resolve enveloped me. I had a daunting journey ahead, but I was ready to take it head-on. John and Eliana were oblivious to the storm that was coming their way. I am Ellie Thompson, unbreakable and determined. Sitting across from Liam, my lawyer, my heart raced as he presented the dossier of evidence against John, proof of his infidelity and financial misdeeds laid bare. "We've got him cornered, Ellie," Liam declared with a confident smile. My hands trembled as I flipped through the photos, receipts, and bank statements, all incriminating, all undeniable. A sudden call interrupted our meeting. It was Zoe, my heart sinking as she relayed the latest onslaught. John was maligning me online, tainting my reputation. But Zoe was already countering his lies, defending my honor with the fervor only a true friend could muster. Her loyalty made me smile amidst the turmoil. Filled with a renewed sense of purpose, I returned to Liam's office, ready to take decisive action. "Let's proceed with the divorce," I declared, my voice steady and resolute. Liam nodded, his look one of respect. "I'll get the papers ready," he assured me. As I left his office, anticipation mixed with resolve. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but I was equipped and ready. John had underestimated me, and I was driven not just to confront him, but to emerge victorious. Arriving at Zoe's, She greeted me with a hug that spoke volumes of the battles we'd faced together. Ellie announced her intentions in a voice softened by emotion, resting her head against my shoulder. "We're going to make him pay for everything he's done to you," she declared. I wrapped my arms around her, overwhelmed with appreciation for this remarkable woman who had been my rock in every high and low. "I couldn't face this without you, Soph. You know that, don't you?" She stepped back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "That's what best friends are for, babe. Now let's gear up. We have a deceitful scoundrel to bring down." We found ourselves huddled around her kitchen table, meticulously reviewing evidence and strategizing our next steps. A wave of tranquility settled over me. Armed with the truth, the backing of the law, and my best friend's unwavering support, John was poised for a downfall. Bursting into the house with the divorce papers gripped in my hand, I found John nonchalantly lounging on the sofa, his arm around Eliana. They both looked up in shock and irritation as I made my entrance. "What the hell are you doing here, Ellie?" John demanded as he stood. "I thought I made it clear you weren't welcome anymore." With a flick of my wrist, I flung the papers at his feet, fury ablaze in my eyes. "I'm here to serve you these divorce papers, you treacherous liar." Eliana's complexion turned ghostly. "Divorce papers? John, what's this about?" I let out a scornful laugh. "Oh, he hasn't mentioned? Your beloved John has been funneling money from our joint account to support your little escapade here, and that's just the beginning." John's expression contorted with rage. "You have no proof. It's just your word against mine." A smug smile curved my lips. "Actually, I have ample evidence, bank statements, credit card bills, photographs of the two of you together. My lawyers got everything." Just then, Carol and Jenny entered, their expressions filled with confusion and caution. "Mom, what's happening?" Jenny inquired. Turning to face them, my heart shattered seeing their innocent expressions. "Girls, your father has been deceiving us. He's been unfaithful and has been stealing from our family funds to sustain his affair with Eliana." Carol's expression hardened in disbelief. "That can't be true. Dad wouldn't do that." I sighed, tears welling up in my eyes. "I'm sorry, honey, but it is true. He's been manipulating you, turning you against me." John advanced, his face twisted in anger. "Don't listen to her, girls. She's trying to pit you against me. She's the one neglecting our family, not me." I laughed bitterly. "Neglecting? I've been the one working tirelessly to support us, while you've been indulging in your affair." Eliana stood up, visibly angry. "Don't speak to him that way. John loves me, and he loves you girls. You're just a bitter woman who can't bear to see him happy." I faced her squarely, my gaze fierce. "Quiet, you intruder. You think you can just stroll in and take over my life, my family? Well, think again. I won't go down without a fight." John interjected, his sneer palpable. "You're pathetic, Ellie. Do you really think you can compete with me? I have the girls and Eliana. What do you have?" I smiled coldly, confidence seeping through my defiance. "I have the law on my side, John, and I have the truth. You can try to twist the facts, but ultimately, truth will prevail, and you'll be left with nothing." Turning to my daughters, my voice softened as I beheld the turmoil in their eyes. "I love you both dearly, and I know this is hard. Your father isn't the man you think he is. He's dishonest and doesn't deserve your trust." Carol's face crumbled, tears cascading down her cheeks. "I don't know what to believe anymore." I pulled her into an embrace. "Trust in yourself, my love. Trust in what feels right, and remember, I'm always here for you." Jenny stepped closer, her expression resolute. "I believe you, Mom." "I'm sorry I doubted you." I hugged her tightly, my heart swelling with love and pride. "It's okay, my dear. We'll get through this together." I faced John and Eliana, my gaze steely and determined. "I'm filing for divorce, John, and I will ensure you face the consequences of your actions. You truly underestimated me." With those words, I spun around and left, my head held high. This was only the beginning, and I was braced for the ensuing struggle. Little did John and Eliana know, they had no idea of the storm that was coming their way. In the courtroom, My pulse raced as my lawyer, Liam, laid out our case to the judge. John was seated across the room, smugness written all over his face. Eliana was conspicuously absent. Your Honor, Liam asserted confidently, we present undeniable evidence that Mr. Thompson has partaken in extramarital activities and has diverted our marital resources to fund these indiscretions. We also have evidence of his attempts to estrange the children from their mother. The judge, a formidable woman in her 50s, nodded gravely. I've looked over the evidence, Mr. Stevens, and it's quite persuasive indeed. John's attorney, donning an expensive suit, rose to speak. Your Honor, these accusations are mere conjecture. My client is a committed father and husband who has been wronged by a resentful ex-wife. Anger surged within me at his portrayal of me as the antagonist. But Liam was prepared. With all due respect, Your Honor, the evidence is clear and factual. We have bank statements, credit card records, and photographs that document Mr. Thompson's unfaithfulness and financial misconduct. This is beyond mere speculation. The judge peered at John sternly. Mr. Thompson, do you wish to respond? John stood, his indignation palpable. Your Honor, I am a devoted husband and father. These harsh accusations from my wife are baseless. She's only trying to penalize me for seeking happiness elsewhere. At his mention of happiness, I scoffed loudly. Happiness? Is that what you call betraying your family, plundering our children's future for your disgraceful affair? The judge called for order with a strike of her gavel, her expression severe. Mr. Thompson, I've heard enough. The evidence against you is overwhelming. I am granting Mrs. Thompson's petition for divorce and awarding her a significant portion of your joint assets as restitution for your infidelity and fiscal wrongdoing. John's complexion paled at her words. Your Honor, this can't be happening. I'll be ruined, he protested. The judge glared at him sharply. You should have thought about your family before your betrayal. Actions have consequences, Mr. Thompson. A sense of justice filled me as the judge pronounced her decision. After enduring months of pain and betrayal, victory was mine. John would finally face the repercussions of his actions. As we exited the courtroom, Liam congratulated me quietly. Congratulations, Ellie. You fought for yourself and your children, and you prevailed. I embraced him, tears of relief and thankfulness streaming down my face. Thank you, Liam. I couldn't have done this without you. Stepping into the sunlight, a wave of freedom swept over me. The nightmare was over. I was liberated from John's deceit and control, ready to embark on a new chapter in my life. Then, there was Eliana, standing on the courthouse steps, her expression one of shock and dismay. John, she cried out, her voice quivering. As I watched John shuffle past her, his shoulders slumped in defeat, he murmured a weary goodbye. It's over, Eliana. I've lost everything, he said, his voice a blend of resignation and sorrow. Eliana's face twisted with grief, tears cascading down her face as she clutched at the last straws of their shared dreams. But what about us? What about all the plans we made together? She pleaded. John's reply was tinged with bitterness. There's no future for us, Eliana. I'm penniless and I'm on my own. You should find someone else who can offer you what I no longer can. I stood there, a silent observer, watching as Eliana crumpled to the floor, her sobs echoing off the walls. A part of me felt vindicated. After all, she had a role in the downfall of my family. Yet, overwhelmingly, I felt exhausted by the never-ending deceit and betrayal that had surrounded us. It was time to leave the chaos behind. I walked away from the courthouse, my spirit lighter, knowing the worst was over. I had survived the turmoil that John and Eliana had wrought, and now I was free to rebuild my life, to find joy and peace once again. A year had passed since the divorce, and here I was in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes, yet filled with a newfound optimism. My business was flourishing, and a tranquil calm had settled over my life, a stark contrast to the years of tumult. However, there was still one matter that lay unresolved: my daughters, Carol and Jenny. The estrangement since the divorce weighed heavily on me, but I knew they needed time to process their father's betrayal and their own conflicted feelings. With college on the horizon for them, it felt like the right moment to bridge the gap. I picked up the phone, my heart pounding with anticipation, and dialed Jenny. "Hello, Mom. Is everything all right?" Her voice came through, tentative yet clear. "Yes, sweetheart, everything's fine. I was hoping you and Carol could come over. I'd like to talk," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. There was a pause, fraught with hesitation, then, "Okay, we'll be there in an hour." I busied myself straightening up the apartment, each movement helping to steady my nerves. When the doorbell rang, I took a deep breath and opened the door. There stood Carol and Jenny, their expressions uncertain. "Come in, girls." I ushered them inside, and we settled into the living room, enveloped by an uneasy silence until Carol broke it. "Mom, we're sorry for everything." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry too. I should have been there more, should have shielded you from the worst of it," I said softly. Jenny shook her head, her eyes brimming with regret. "It's not your fault, Mom. We were the ones who got swept up in Dad's lies. It was our mistake." Taking their hands in mine, I reassured them. "You were manipulated by someone who should have been your protector. That's not on you." Tears rolled down Carol's cheeks. "But now we're paying the price. Dad's broke, and he can't help with our college fees." I squeezed her hand, my heart aching for them. "Don't worry, we'll figure this out together. I've saved up for your education, and we'll find scholarships and grants. You're not in this alone." Jenny looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "Really? You'd do that for us, even after everything?" I pulled them both into a hug, my voice firm with resolve. "Of course. You're my daughters. I love you more than anything, and nothing will ever change that." As we sat together, enveloped in the comfort of each other's embrace, tears flowed freely. The challenges of the past year seemed to dissolve, leaving room for conversations filled with plans and dreams of what lay ahead. A tranquil peace washed over me. Though the journey ahead was long, I knew we, my daughters and I, would face it united, a formidable trio against the world. That evening, as Carol prepared to leave, her expression earnest, she spoke of renewal and hope. "Mom, we can't undo the past, but we want to make things right again. We want to be a part of your life, if you'll let us." Embracing her tightly, I reassured her, "Of course, you're my family. Nothing will ever change that." Watching them drive away filled me with a newfound hope and a readiness to embrace the bright future ahead. John and Eliana's efforts to bring me down had not only failed, but had fortified my resolve. I was stronger and more resilient, bolstered by the love and support of my daughters. My name, Ellie, had become synonymous with strength and perseverance. Years later, standing in the lobby of my new office, pride and achievement surged through me. The years following my divorce had been transformative, allowing me to establish a thriving interior design business that exceeded my expectations. My daughters, now successful and independent, stood by me, their pride evident. "Mom, this is incredible," Jenny marveled, awe coloring her voice. "You've come so far." Gripping her hand, I acknowledged our collective progress. "We've all come so far, and I couldn't have done it without you both." Carol, her eyes glistening, added, "We're so proud of you, Mom. You're an inspiration to both of us." Walking through the sleek, modern office space, I reflected on the arduous path that had led me here, fraught with betrayal and nights filled with doubt. Yet through it all, I emerged more determined and resilient. The grand opening of my office was a celebration with friends, colleagues, and clients. Feeling a tap on my shoulder, I turned to see Zoe, my steadfast supporter and friend, with a smile that knew too much. "Congratulations, Val," she said, pulling me into a warm embrace. "You really showed them." I hugged her back, feeling emotional. "I couldn't have done this without you, Soph. You've been my rock." As she stepped back, her expression turned serious. "I have some news about John," she began. A ripple of apprehension passed through me, but I quickly dismissed it. John belonged to a chapter of my life that had long since closed. He had faced hardships, his ventures failing, leading him to a humbled existence, a stark contrast to the life he had once envisioned. This news, while surprising, did not sway the solid ground I now stood on. My past no longer had any hold on me. I was truly unstoppable. The experience was transient. I had moved forward and carved out a new life for myself. John's destiny no longer weighed on my mind. "I'm sorry to hear that," I responded in an even tone, "but it's no longer my issue. He chose his path, and now he must face the repercussions." Safia gave me a look of admiration, and a proud smile graced her lips. "You're absolutely right, Val. You've moved forward and crafted something remarkable. Don't let him pull you back into the mire." As the festivities buzzed around us, a profound peace settled within me. I had confronted my past, battled my inner demons, and come out on top. Gone was the fractured, desolate woman I once was, replaced by a strong, confident, and accomplished figure, all thanks to my daughters. As the evening unfolded, Carol and Jenny pulled me aside, their expressions laden with sincerity. "Mom, we need to apologize," Carol began, her voice quivering, "for all the hardship we caused, for doubting you when you needed our belief the most." I shook my head and embraced them tightly. "There's nothing to apologize for, my loves. We've all erred, but we've grown from those mistakes. Look at us now, reunited as a family, stronger than ever." Jenny nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "We love you, Mom, more than anything in this world." I held them close, my heart brimming with love. "I love you too, my darlings, always and forever." As I gazed out at the city skyline, with the building's lights twinkling below, a newfound peace and satisfaction enveloped me, one I had never felt before. I, Ellie Thompson, had survived the tempest, traversed through the dark, and stepped into the light as a survivor, a warrior, a woman who had rebuilt everything from scratch. With a sudden, unwavering certainty, I knew nothing could ever defeat me again. I had triumphed with my daughters by my side, and that was all that truly mattered.